Welcome to the Childcare Business Coach podcast with Evelyn Knight, where mindset mechanics come together for success. Evelyn Knight is the leader of the ECE revolution and is on a mission to touch 1 million children's lives through the elevation of the ECE community.
Good morning and welcome. I hope everybody had an absolutely beautiful, wonderful weekend. And I thank you for joining the Childcare Business Coach podcast. It was a wonderful weekend here. Today, I want to kind of make this short and sweet for you. And I'm actually giving you a preview of the TED Talk I'll be doing. And it's actually going to drive me insane if I see this picture frame crooked behind me. So I have to fix it. Sorry, guys, but a little OCD going on there. That's what I do. My girls at Zoen used to tease me by actually going and making things crooked so that as I'm walking through the building, I have to fix everything all the time. So just some OCD, had to fix that. Sorry. I'm sure some of you can resonate with that, though. Some of you are probably just laughing right now because you feel me on that, right? So welcome, everybody. Again, thank you for being here. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the day I lost my name. And this is a bit of a preview of the TED Talk that I'm going to be doing at almost a month from today, actually, that I'll be actually doing on stage. I'm so nervous. My last TED Talk was a virtual one. The one that's coming up is actually going to be live. So I'm going to be on the TED stage and I am very nervous about it. But that's really what I want to talk about today. I've been working a lot on it and it just really got me thinking, I haven't done this for my audience yet. I really haven't talked to you about this. So this is going to be kind of a preview. It's not quite what I will be doing, but it is going to be the overarching theme of what I'll be talking about during my TED presentation. But when I was 26 years old, there was a specific day in my life that I felt like I literally lost my name. I got up one morning and took my son, my oldest at the time was in kindergarten, and I took him to school, dropped him off, and everywhere I went, it was, "Hi, Bronson's mom." The teachers, "Hi, Bronson's mom." "Oh, it's Bronson's mom." The children referred to me as Bronson's mom. And it started to just kind of like, oh, that's cute. I'm Bronson's mom. That's awesome. But I went from dropping him off to my baby's pediatrician appointment. And there I was referred to as Ronan's mom. And everybody there either called me just mom or Ronan's mom. But nobody knew my name. Everywhere I went that day, nobody knew my name. I started to get this feeling that Evelyn had stopped existing. So I decided I wanted to go somewhere to see somebody who did know my name. So I went to visit my husband at work. I was going to take him lunch and thought, you know what? My husband knows my name. I'm going to go see him and that'll help everything out, right? So I go to visit my husband at work. And as I get there, everybody there refers to me as Ronnie's wife. I pull up and there's somebody in the parking lot as I'm walking up the steps and, "Oh, it's Ronnie's wife. How are you?" I'm walking down the hall. It's Mrs. Knight, Ronnie's wife. But nobody knew who Evelyn was. Nobody. That evening, I realized I had gone through the entire day without a name. At the time, I was a stay-at-home mom. And it was something I loved. But I felt like I lost my identity. Now, I know not every stay-at-home mom feels this way. Not every stay-at-home mom loses their identity. That is where they thrive and they love it. But I do have a warning for those of you out there. You have to have something for you. What really started to resonate with me, and good morning to all of you that are coming in, and I just want to really quick show you guys, if you don't give StreamYard permission, I can't see who you are. It just shows me Facebook user, good morning, or YouTube user. But anyway, getting back to my story. My mom was a stay-at-home mom my entire childhood as I grew up for all four of her children. And during this time of my life, I kept looking at my mom and I kept thinking, and honestly, it scared me a little bit because now all four of her children were grown and gone and she had nothing for herself. She was actually upset with us for growing up because she had given her life to us. She had really not done anything that was for her. She had not established her own thing. And still, my mom comes to my house 3 days a week to help me. And there was never that thing that identified her, because her identity was defined through her husband and her children. So for those of you business owners, some of you are still in the same boat, but you're defining yourself through your business. You're defining yourself through your family, but you've lost a sense of who you are, who you are, your name, whatever it is, fill in the blanks, right? So back to my story. I went that day and I really started looking, and it really just shook me up. I looked at my mother, I looked at my mother-in-law, and I was so afraid to grow up to be them. And yes, grow up. I was 26. I feel like I was a child at the time, right? But I was just, it terrified me. So that day I made a decision. I made the decision that I needed my own name. I needed my own identity. Now, I was raised in a way where there was a lot of different beliefs that were thrown at me that made things very confusing. My mother immigrated to the United States from Honduras. So I was told that a good woman was there to serve her husband. Your husband comes first. The men in your life come first. And you were there to be a great mom. That is why a woman is here on earth, is to serve her husband, be a great wife, and to be a great mom. Those are the two things that we were here for. But then my mom was so grateful for being in America and for having children that were American citizens that she would also tell me that I was so blessed because of the opportunities that I was given, just because of the fact that I'm American, that I had a responsibility to go to college, and make something of myself. Like making something of myself and getting this college degree was so very important. So at 26 years old, I found myself between these two differing beliefs, right? My mom was caught between two cultures, and she had raised us caught between two cultures. The culture of a woman is here to serve her husband and to be a great mom, and the culture of you're American, you have unlimited opportunities, so you need to take advantage of that. The world is literally at your fingertips, and you can be anything and do anything you want to do just because you were born American. I am actually very grateful for these two differing ideologies, because it really started this shift in me. Most of you have the same kind of identity struggles, but what was a gift to me is I saw it and I realized it. Most of you never have the conscious thought that there's something going on here. But because I was raised with these two conflicting ideologies, I had to face it. And I had to think, well, which is it? Am I going to be a career woman and take the opportunity I have as an American to make everything I can and get my degree and do all the things? Or am I going to serve my husband and my kids and be that great stay-at-home mom? Now, as my mom was saying this, she would always enforce to us, you got to get that college degree. You've got to make something of yourself. But then if one of her friends or somebody in our church circle or anything was a working woman, she would say things like, oh, her poor children, her mother's not home, she's not a good mom. So I'm getting these two differing beliefs that are tearing me and as I'm sitting here as a 26-year-old, yeah, but if I get a career, I won't be a good mom. And I just want to be a good mom more than anything in the world. I'd been working with children my whole life, but I was going to college for something different the first time around. And I needed to learn how I could find my identity. But in my heart of hearts, I wanted nothing more than to be a great mom and a great wife. So that's when I started a childcare business. At first, I started in my home, and then I ended up at a childcare center. And I had been in childcare before this. I had worked in childcare, but I honestly didn't think that was going to be my career. It's not what first time I went to college, wasn't what I went for. But I realized that childcare is the perfect career to juggle being a great mom, being that wife, and having a career. So I set off to open a childcare center. Now, that's a whole other story that I'm not going to deal with right now, but it really did save me. Fast forward 20 years. Last year, well, not even a year ago, during 2022, I sat looking out my backyard window, and I looked over my backyard, and I had a moment in my life where I was so thankful to that 26-year-old girl. And I had this epiphany. I realized, had that 26-year-old girl not made that decision that day to be something for herself, to not define her life through her children and her husband, and to have something for me, I would have lost everything. I stood looking out my window 6 months after my husband died. And I realized I would be losing everything. There's no way I could have afforded to keep my home, let alone take care of my son who was still living at home and underage. I would have been ruined. I don't know what I would have done. I would have had no skills. I would have had nothing. I wouldn't have finished my degree, I'm sure. And I wouldn't have my own career. I could not financially survive. I would have probably had to sell my house and everything I owned just to be able to feed my son and keep a roof over his mouth, a roof in his mouth. I don't know what I'm saying, but just to keep a roof over his head, I would have had to sell everything. And in that moment, as I looked over my backyard and realized that I was okay, I was so thankful to that 26-year-old girl that I was for wanting something for me, for needing to find my name, and for giving myself my name back. No one knows what life is going to do to us. None of us know what the future is going to hold. I did not know when I was 26 years old that I would be a 45-year-old widow. I had no idea that's what I would be facing. I had no idea. But I am so thankful that 26-year-old girl was smart enough to know that she had to build a life for herself. So let me ask you, have you started building a life for you? One day your children are going to grow up and they're going to go away. They need to. And it's selfish not to let them. One day your husband may not be there to support you. One day you might have to stand alone also, just like I did, just like I am now. I cannot even begin to tell you how impactful. It has been so impactful that I am doing multiple TED Talks on this subject and a couple others, not just that one. I have some early childhood education ones I'm doing too. But just to spread this message to people out there, to women, that you have to have something for you. You cannot define your life through your husband and your children. Your husband might have a career. He has something else. Your children are going to grow up and leave. And when you're an empty nester, what are you going to have? Can you take care of yourself alone? We don't choose what comes at us, but we can choose how we react to it and how we prepare and how we allow life to happen to us. And I want you to really, really think about that. We allow life to happen to us, right? We allow it, and you can make life happen for you. You really can. And you can decide who you want to show up as tomorrow. I'm so thankful at 26 that I knew who I wanted to show up as, because it saved me at 45. It saved the rest of my life. So who do you really want to be? One other point I want to make is that our parents and all of the people in our lives, teachers and everybody, they put these ideas in our head of who we need to be. Every one of you hearing this has been told that you are something, that you need to be something. You're taught these unspoken rules in society that aren't necessarily true, but they're out there. We're all taught these things, and we don't even know that they go through our head. Now, had my mom not taught me the American side of opportunity, then I would have been taught that a woman's place is serving her husband and her children. And I would have probably been a stay-at-home mom my entire life because of that paradigm I was taught, which was culturally acceptable for her. But now, on the other hand, I had that conflicting paradigm, right? Which, thank God, it caused this rift in me that made me question. But most people in this world never question what they were told about themselves. They never actually question who they are. They just become who they are told to be. So let me ask you, what stories were you told about you that you need to start questioning? What cultural norms do you need to break free of? My son is going to be 19 in a month. And for his 18th birthday, he came to me and he said, Mom, I have a really weird request for you. For my 18th birthday, I want you to buy me some business licenses. And I was like, why is that a weird request? This is an entrepreneurial family. Your dad opened businesses. I opened businesses. This is what we taught you. This is awesome. But then he said something that kind of threw me a little. He said, well, Mom, I'm not going to college. I'm just going to go straight to opening businesses and I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm not going to college. The mom in me was like, oh, no. You are going to college, young man. You've got to get an education because if you don't, you're this and you're that. And I had to stop myself and say, whoa, wait a second. And those words did come out of my mouth. I'm not going to pretend they didn't. They did. But he persisted, and it wasn't very much of a conversation. But as he did, I stopped and I actually had to really reconsider. And I said to him one day, I'm like, you know what? You're right. That's okay. You don't have to go to college. And even if you do, maybe it's 10 years from now. But I had to have a talk with me. And I had to start asking me, what beliefs am I putting on my own children, just like the beliefs my mother put on me? Why am I projecting these limiting beliefs on my own children and telling them that they have to fit in this box and this is how it has to be? Why does it have to be that way? Why? Here I am almost a year later, and my son has actually a really good thriving business that he is making a career of. My son is going to be 19 years old next month, and he's already got a thriving business. He's already successful than some people never become. I was probably 35 by the time I reached his level of success as an entrepreneur. So he's definitely proved me wrong. He didn't need to go to college. He doesn't. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody doesn't need to go to college. Some of us do, right? I mean, there are people who need that college degree, and that is the path of their life. My point is that you need to lean into the path of your life, the you, not what everybody tells you it should be, not what society says. Why do we have to go to college, start at a job at the bottom, and work our way up the ladder? Why? My son just proved to me that that is not the way it has to be. And he's proven it to me every day. And it's kind of funny because I'm the mom who's taught him this all his life, right? I'm the mom who's literally said, you don't have to follow society's route, go against the grain. This is how real success is. But then when he came to me and said, I'm not going to college, I was just like, whoa, hold it. I know I've told you this all your life, but back up. What do you mean you're not going to college? And I had to question my own paradigm. I had to question everything. I'm saying this, but really, do I believe it? And I really had to back up and ask myself what I truly, honestly believe. And that's when I had to say, yes, I believe this. I do believe that we don't have to follow society's rules, these unspoken rules that you have to start here and work your way up. You can be a great mom and have a career. You can be a great wife and own a business. But most importantly, to be successful, to be a great mom and to be a great wife, you have to be true to you. I now realize that I would have been a depressed mom, an unhappy mom, probably a pretty mean mom if I was always depressed, unfulfilled, and unhappy, right? And in order to be a great mom, I had to choose me first. I had to give me a career. I had to. And it really hit home that day. I looked out on my backyard and I realized that the reason I could support my son on my own after his dad died, the reason that I wasn't contributing to what was already a horrible situation for my son was because I chose me 20 years earlier. Because I chose to give me something. I was able to step up as a better mother, especially when my boys needed me the most. No child should have to face what my kids had to face. But at least I put the things in place to make it better for them. And I am so thankful for me of 20 years ago for doing that. So I really hope if this just helps one woman out there, and I'm sorry, guys, but my heart in this is really, and it's for you too, though. For some of you men, you're still living what you were told you have to be. You're working the job you were told and the career you were told you have to do. And you may be really successful, and that's awesome. But sometimes that success is what takes us away from being who we really are and who we really want to be. So just really lean into you. Show yourself the love that you deserve. And I can promise you that when you do, you will learn to be a better mother, a better wife. You'll really, really shine. My last note, those of you guys know, I'm a God girl. And one thing in the last month or two has really resonated with me is when Jesus was asked I like the reference from Matthew, and I can't remember the chapter right now, but what are the greatest commandments? When the Pharisees asked Jesus, what are the greatest commandments? He said, of course, love the Lord your God above all else, right? Number one. But the second thing he said, and I want you to keep in mind, when Jesus was asked this question, he was asked, what is the greatest? But he answered two. He said, of course, loving God is the greatest. But secondly, he said, love your neighbors as yourself. We talk about that all the time, but we leave out the as yourself part. How are you loving your neighbors if you're not loving yourself? And Jesus, whether you believe in him or not, was one of the most brilliant teachers that ever walked the planet. He found it important enough when they asked, what is the greatest commandment? What is the most important thing for us to do in life? After loving God, he said, you love yourself and your neighbors, but you love your neighbors as you love yourself. So if you're not loving yourself, how are you showing love to others? How are you showing up for your children and your husband and everybody in your life? If that was important enough to Jesus to mention when he was asked, what is the most important commandment? It should be so important to you. Absolutely important to you. The greatest teacher of all time brought that to us. So just food for thought. I hope this was helpful. I really hope this hit home for somebody. If that pulled on your heartstrings, then you needed to hear this and start taking action. If you're one of the people listening to this who hasn't really resignated or just doesn't have a career yet, get with one of my teams. We're starting a new program. We are coming out of the beta. It's actually not new, but it's our Building Blocks program where we're going to be helping more and more people own their own childcare businesses, whether it's in your home, outside of your home. If you're in your home already, we're helping you transition into the world at large. But do something for you. You can't define yourself through other people. We are going to start helping more and more women out there have a career that they can balance being a great mom and a great wife and still have them. They can still put them first. And that is something I am so passionate about, and I cannot wait to get this started. So get with my team if that's you, if you need something for you. It's funny how we will invest so much money in things like cars, but we won't invest in us, in a career that's going to last us the rest of our life. You look at a price tag on something like that and you're just kind of like, ooh, that's expensive. But let me go spend $40,000 on a car that I'm only going to own for 5 years, right? How much sense does that make? A career that can literally last your entire life and can set you free financially and take care of you isn't worth it, but a car that you're going to have for 5 years is. Really think about that. And if that is you and that resonated with you and you want something more for you, get with one of my team. They would be happy to help you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you for joining Evelyn today. For more information, please visit childcarebusinessprofessionals.com.